Alright, hey everybody, welcome to part 22 of Let's Play Breath of Fire 2. When we last left off, we finally got the wise tree to remember some information, and he told us to go south and talk to some farmers that we'll find there. Unfortunately, we seem to already run into a problem. So the fog is too deep here in the valley, and we are unable to continue onward. The man suggested maybe there's a problem at Sky Tower. So of course, being the heroes that we are, and the fact that it's imperative that we get through this valley, guess where we're headed next? We're going to the Sky Tower. If you remember from the sightseeing tour, when we first got the whale, Sky Tower is close by. It's a tower from Breath of Fire 1 that sank into the ocean. I don't know if the waters rose, or if the tower sank, but either way, we're back here. You may have noticed if you played the first one too, the architecture of the tower has changed entirely, but I guess that could have happened for centuries. Over the centuries since the last game. So if you talk to this friendly Manillo twice, the first time he says, I'll let you in, but then you gotta talk to him again to make sure. He'll give you some scuba gear, and he'll let you dive on in. So we're skipping a lot of the Sky Tower compared to the first game. A lot of the floors you had to climb. So you may have noticed in the top left corner that we do have a time limit while we're down here. That is how long it takes till our air supply runs out. I guess we're just holding our breath, because if you go into any room without water, the timer will reset at 3 minutes. This guy is running a armory down here. I'm not sure if he gets that good of business, but he's got some pretty good equipment. I decided the ice bow is a huge boost in Bao's attack power, but I decided that the twin bow with its 2 attacks is actually better off. Get more damage out of it that way. The thunder rep here is good, especially down here. As you would expect in a water-filled temple, a lot of the enemies here are weak against lightning, and so Jean will be doing some pretty good damage. And as the man warned us, there is areas where the water flows. It'll push you around. You'll see it a lot more later. For the most part, you're just wandering through. So, I kind of get lucky here in the fact that you may have noticed I haven't run into any enemies here. In fact, there are random battles down here. Quite a few of them. I don't know how I had such a lucky streak going all the way through here. But while you are in random battles, the timer is continuing to tick down. And so if you do end up fighting a lot of battles, getting to these treasures can actually be kind of tricky. Fortunately, I avoided almost all of them, so I still have 2 minutes left to get out. Getting out is the important part, too. The Goblin Sword is a huge increase. And if you got the extra time, go ahead and walk against the current all the way up. You'll see this treasure chest. The Spirit Robe really isn't that good. It's actually... what we have is better already. The Quick Clothes and the Ocean Robe we got before for Spar. Whee! We'll go ahead and write it back down. Here we have a random battle, finally. New enemy type. The Needler, or just Needle. The spell shield, it's kind of like defense up, except for magic. It'll lower the magic damage it takes. He also is able to do defense up X on everybody, and he usually gets a lot of counterattacks, but luckily that didn't happen that time. So now we have to make the trip back, which way you can run into some trouble. If you do run out of time, it's not the end of the world. It'll count as a death, so you'll lose half your money, but the Manillo, one of the Manillos from the top floor will come down and rescue you, So that's it. You're still in the Sky Tower. You don't have to walk back or anything, but you do lose a lot of money. The Monica and the Crodworm. Crodworm, as far as I've seen, just attacks. Once it did cast Tornado, which is nothing to worry about. The Amonicas, they will cast Freeze, which is a trouble two ways. First, it does decent damage, maybe about 100. But probably more importantly is the fact that any spells that are cast down here, the animation that it takes, it'll eat up a lot of your time. Which is why you probably don't want to bring Nina down here, or even Blau if you have her, just because you don't have time to cast all these spells. And here we have another. Oh, okay. Yeah, another one with the Crodworms. Just to show that they do cast Tornado. Not a bad spell, doesn't do much damage, and it's a quick animation. So, just take them down. What is kind of cool, if you're feeling bold, you'll see it in a moment, in a second. But once the timer does get down to less than a minute, you'll hear the music speed up. And if you wait till it's down below 20 seconds, it gets even faster. And all this music tempo changes. Here we go. It's different. Even if you're in a random battle, the music for the battle will be faster too. So it's fun to listen to once if you haven't before. Just be careful not to die. I just did that right by the open room because I knew it would be safe. We'd refresh our timer. Right, so the right path had some pretty good treasures, and now we'll take the left path to actually figure out what we're doing in this tower. What's causing the problems here? Here we go. Here's a new enemy, along with Needles. Darius is able to build up, and unlike some of the enemies we've been seeing, his build-up actually hurts. Perhaps worse than that, he's also able to cast 8.0, which is... it's about 60 or 70 damage to the party, so that's pretty rough. And you won't see Darius' build-up thanks to Gene and his Thunder Rep here. You don't want to be on the receiving end of it, though, I'll tell you that much. 1,000 coins. Chump change now if you've been using the gold bars, but still it's good to get all the treasures. And here's another empty room you can return to if you're low on air. Really, the 3-minute time limit is pretty generous, though. You shouldn't have to be too worried about running out. Another oxygen room. This room can be frustrating if you try to brute force your way to the stairs. Just go with the flow all the way till you circle around the room once, and then when you're in this lower left corner, just hold straight up and walk on in. It's really easy once you know what you're doing, but if you're not confident in your walking, you could end up taking a couple laps around that room. And the frozen armor and the ice shield, their defense is a little worse, which is why I didn't bother to equip them. But they do lower the damage you take from ice attacks, so freeze and cold and hail, which is a spell we haven't even seen yet. So it could be useful in that regard. We're climbing up, we're almost at the top of this tower. Well, it's a shaman. Well, that's understandable, I suppose. That's very nice of her. I bet you were expecting some big bad demon creature was causing the problem. We have a boss fight. But no, it's just a very, very friendly shaman. Says she'll quit, and that's that. So now we do have the wind shaman in our employ. And at the end of this video, I will show you what we can do with them. The shamans are starting to become more useful now, as you'll see later on. But for now, we got this fog cleared up, so let's go back to this canyon. Got a mission to do. May have forgotten it over the last 4 parts of side quests. I think we're back on the right track finally. Here we have a new enemy that you'll be seeing more of after we cross the canyon. The Tri-Eye. They don't have much going for them. They are able to cast Sap and Drain, but more often than not you'll see it not work. Let's see, 0 damage. So, that's about it. The regular attacks can do some decent damage, but at this point in the game, it's nothing to worry about. It's a little bit of overkill, Gene, but alright. However, as not a problem as the Tri-Eye is, the enemies through this canyon are very dangerous. The Battle Ogre, much like his Ogre brethren from Nimifu's Tower, is able to get a lot of counterattacks, and in this case his counterattacks will hurt. They do about 70 damage. So, especially with Bao doing 2 attacks, it can build up pretty quick. And other than that, they are able to do Fire Breath, which is also decent. It'll, whittle you down about 50 health each. But more often than not, it'll be his counterattacks that are causing more damage than anything else. I'm gonna try to heal up Bao. Hopefully he won't Fire Breath me this turn. You know that's trouble when one random battle you can go from full health to near dead. You'll actually see the outcome of one of those fights. You won't see the actual fight, but get pretty beat up. There's also another enemy in here, which I will... Shoot, I should tag it on to the end of this video, maybe the beginning of the next video. He's called the Cyclops, and you'll know him when you see him. In fact, yeah, I won't say anything else about him. I'll show him in the next segment. You can see havoc he can bring. Also, as a random battle through here, you can run into these mimics and people eaters. You've already seen them. You know they're nothing to worry about. Just take them down. Not even worth that much experience. Alrighty, we're almost out of this canyon, but oh no. Look at what those battle ogres did. Almost wiped us out. Honestly, I was just being careless in that fight. Did a lot of auto attacks, so they countered a lot. Your best bet when fighting them, if you're having trouble, is just use magic. They can't counter magic. Alright, we have a new town. It's a new town of Armadillo Men. I think Rand might be at home here. These are definitely farmers. I believe these are the people that the Great Wise Tree was telling us about. However, before we continue on our journey, I think it's time to rest up. And just so I'm not a jerk in 20 seconds and tell you later, I'll tell you now, this will be the end of part 22. A little bit of a shorter segment. There is an extra 5 minutes after this to show off some shaman stuff. But we finally got through the canyon, And after 4 or 5 segments, we are back on track. We will continue this quest then. But for now, let's take a little aside, go back to Township. You can see we've been working on our statues. And we'll go see Granny and talk to her about some new shaman combinations. So there's 2 major ones you can do right now. First is for Sten with the fire and wind shamans. Let's see what happens. Oh-ho! It's completely changed. So with Sten's new body, he has new abilities. I believe most people call him, this is the genie transformation, or maybe the Jinn transformation. So it's, when you get a good shaman combination, changed body types, their stats will get a huge boost, and they'll also get new abilities. In this case, Sten's new ability is called Sway, which I believe is supposed to mean switch or something. He changes the random enemies at any time in a fight. So if you're looking for certain enemies, you can use that over and over. That's one of the fun transformations. The other one, and you're going to be seeing more of this since Spar is going to be in our party for a lot more. Spar can transform if you use the water and wind shaman. Spar actually has the most transformations. He has 3 different ones he can take. This one, as you see, is a more feminine shape. Spar is not really, doesn't really have a gender, being a plant. But you can see his or her ability has changed from nature to called Spore. And what it does when it works, it will use sleeping gas on the enemies. So finally, after years of fighting those plant monsters and then putting it to sleep all the time, you can finally do it to the enemy. However, you saw at the very beginning, sometimes it will fail and it'll get a little thing that says headwind, which means the gas blew back in your face and you can put the whole party to sleep. But if you put a dream earring on everybody, you don't have to worry about that problem. Anyway, that will officially do it for part 22. Thank you so much for listening. This one's a little bit of a shorter segment. Part 23, we will go back to Farmtown and we will see what's going on as far as Rand's family background. Alrighty, have a good one. Later.